How handy. We can speak to a former Burnley man about the club he used to play for, of course, Michael. Firstly, can you understand his frustration about that red card from last weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. The fact that they got a point it ends quite well because it sort of galvanises us against them in the world. But they're the sort of decisions that you want the referees to get right. You know, I don't think it was a penalty, never mind a red card. But it's so frustrating. You plan all week, and quite rightly you said, we all make mistakes. That's why we brought in VAR to sort of eradicate those mistakes. And I think the blurred lines at the minute with VAR, what is clear and obvious and what isn't, I think that's the frustration with managers, because we all thought it was going to get tidied up. There was always going to be teething problems, but when you are where they are in the league, and again last night I know there was a decision that went against them that didn't cost them a goal. It led to the free kick, but it's tough because there's so much money at stake, there's so much pride at stake, there's so much time and effort goes in. And when you're relying on people to get those decisions right, so yeah, it's unbelievably frustrating. And then you've got to go and speak to the press, and if you tell them what you really think, you get fined. I'm sure Vince is all right money-wise, so it won't matter. But and then you have to try and do it like nice and politely, but you can't say what you really feel because it is so frustrating.
You can say what you really feel coming up at 11:30, can't you? Because you've got Dermot, and you're going to stay with us for Ref Watch as well, which will be good fun.
As long as you don't get fined, man, yeah.
Yeah, you know, we don't have a fine system in place here. You know, obviously, you look at Burnley's form, they are unbeaten in a number of games. They picked up a point at the Bridge. They picked up a point against Wolves. It feels like it's turned a corner, but has it turned too late? Do you think they've still got enough?
Well, I think you look back at 6 weeks ago, I think they were 10, 11 points off that, you know, that dreaded line, and now they're 4 points. So they're unbeaten in 4. I think they've still got Sheffield United, Nottingham Forest. I think they've still got Everton as well. So they'll think that with the momentum and the togetherness that they've showed last year, they've got a young team who are learning probably week on week, and a manager there doesn't seem to be any pressure on him. The whole club seems to be 100% behind him, and you look at the run that they've had. So they'll be looking at. I'd imagine inside the camp they'll be thinking 100% they've got a brilliant opportunity of getting out of it, especially when you compare it to where they were 6 weeks ago.
Yeah. Will we see Vincent Kompany reenacting some of the moves that we saw from you back in the day? Of course, such happy memories, weren't they, when you look back? Do you like looking back?
I'm embarrassed looking at that.
No, it's
especially when
fun.
we keep running it every hour on Sky Sports News.
Yeah, it was probably a couple of less chins there as well, I'd imagine. But I had an unbelievable time at Burnley. I went up there, I think they paid 30 grand for me from Cheltenham, ironically, and went up there, and I just wanted to try and play in the Championship. We were favourites for relegation at the time, I think, and within 5 years, Owen Coyle had got us promoted, and then I had another 2 promotions with Sean Dyche. But I just had 400 games, 12 great years as a player, another 2 really important from my learning curve in terms of the coaching side of it. So yeah, it'll always. It's one of there's 2 results that I always look for, and they're one of them because it's such a special time. Both my kids were born up that part of the world. So brilliant football club, brilliant people, and yeah, it's a club that's close to my heart.
You've been in that situation that those Burnley players are currently in at the moment. Promotion from the Championship in a successful campaign, and then you're mixing it with the big boys of the Premier League, and it's tough to compete. What will they be going through at the moment? What advice could you give them? Because you've been in that dressing room, you've been in that promotion setup, and you've got to try and change your level and become an even better player.
Yeah, I think the difference between the team now and the team when we had a bit more experience in the team. So we'd probably had players that were at their peak, where they've got players that have got room for improvement. But I think that they'll think that they've got a chance because of the trajectory that they're on in the last few weeks, and because it's been a steep learning curve. The turnover from 2 years ago when Sean Dyche left, you look at it's almost unrecognisable, the team. So to have had the year last year, invest, but they have to try and stay up. In terms of advice, like you say, the whole club seems to be sticking together. You know, it's when people start pointing fingers at elsewhere, but that doesn't seem to be going on at the football club. You know, Vincent seems to have got everybody pointing in the direction that he wants them. He's getting back from above. So it's going to be tough. You know, they're going to have to overachieve, but they've given themselves a chance.
You mentioned Sean Dyche there. I mean, tell us about what he's like as a manager. What do you think he's going to be going through this season and the way that he's tackling that?
He'll be calm. I think he's been doing this for years. he's a big influence on me. So my last two managers as a player were Eddie Howe and Sean Dyche. So I think in terms of learning, completely different personalities, the way that they want to play and things like that. But when I was coming to the end of my career, realised that I wanted to get into this side of it. I think two good people to learn from. Now, Sean is the one that, if anything's going wrong or I want a bit of advice or that's going well, how do I harness that? He's the person I pick the phone up to. And here's what you see. He's always positive, he's straight down the line, he tells the truth, he doesn't do nonsense or fluff it up. But he'll be quite calm. I think he got a bit of stick at Burnley at the end, and it's what he kept him in the league for 6 years, year on year on year, whilst making money. Gone into Everton, and he's doing the same thing. I'm not sure he was so calm when the board went up at the last game of last season when they were winning 1-0 and 10 minutes went up. In fact, I know he wasn't very calm at that moment. But I think they're in control of their own destiny. And the calmness and the simple messages, which are sometimes the hardest things to find, are those simple, clear messages. Sometimes you can overanalyse and overthink it, because he's been here, done that, and I don't see Everton being in any trouble at all.
Just let's look at the survival situation then, and you must be caught in a bit of a moment here, because you've obviously got an affinity for Sean Dyche. You played under him, learnt from him, worked with him. You would obviously, I guess, want to see Everton survive on that basis. But then you've got your old club where you spent a huge chunk of your life at Burnley, so you want to see them in the Premier League. How do you see it going, and what do you think when you look at that situation? Are you torn? Yeah. Really, yeah. I haven't got a lot of influence on it, so I can just sit back and enjoy the excitement. But ideally, I'd like them both to stay up. You know, it's, like I said, brilliant times at Burnley. But the one person that I've learnt the most from is in charge of one of the other relegation threatened teams. But as we said earlier, the bottom of the league, it's been a really exciting year this year. The bottom of the league, the fourth place and the title challenge has been the best for many a year. So I'll just sit back and enjoy it, stress-free. Yeah, at the minute.